Welcome back to Rebel Radio. I am so excited for today's conversation. The very first 2021 episode, 5 energy year with a ruling number 5. You can't make this shit up. Laura, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Welcome to Rebel Radio.
My gosh, thank you so much for being here. I didn't realize, yes, first episode of 2021. This is a big deal. All the fun, all the
Absolutely.
freedom.
Right? Yes, we took a little bit of a hiatus over the holidays, and yeah, it just worked out to be perfect as it always is.
Amazing.
So, Laura, introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us who you are, what you do.
Sure. So I am an advanced EFT tapping practitioner. I'm an intuitive, purpose-driven business coach and a former social worker. And I'm a mom. I've got 2 boys. They're 5 and 7. I live in North Vancouver, BC. And I work with women entrepreneurs who are ready to do business differently, who are ready to liberate themselves from the old patriarchal paradigm, really step into their power, allow their voices to be heard, because we've got work to do on this planet. And if you haven't noticed, and these are the women that I work with. We are the light workers. We're changing the world. And my opinion is the fastest way to do that is through business. It's through female run, high impact, high vibe businesses. So that's what I do. I love it. I'm so grateful that this is my life and this is my work. And yeah, I just hang out with the coolest, most inspiring women literally all day long.
Right?
Yeah. Could not ask for a better life.
I totally agree. And I love that. And you and I are fellow rebels. We both push against the seams quite a bit. One of the things that stood out to me as you were talking there is that idea that entrepreneurs hold the future in our hands. And I'm passionate about the redistribution of wealth on the planet. And I believe that comes through the hands of entrepreneurs. So we're both on the same page. I love it.
Time to claim it.
Right? Time to claim it.
The money is out there, it's circulating. So why not be the ones to steward it in a new way? So bring it all in.
Bring it all in. I love that. So before we jumped on live, I was sharing a little bit of your numerology with you. I'm just curious what one of your biggest takeaways from that was.
Well, it's really cool. So I know a little bit about numerology already, but Cindy, what you just told me about my arrow of frustration, which, hello, I think a lot of us have that arrow of frustration. Giving myself permission to do what feels good was what you just anchored in for me. So the tip that Cindy gave me was to have something in my hand to fidget with, have a crystal or an actual fidget spinner, which I have because I've got 2 boys, have a piece of paper and a pen and be doodling. I naturally do those things, but I often have the thought, oh, I should be paying better attention. I should put this crystal down or I should put this pen down. But what you just anchored in for me was we need to follow the flow. We need to follow our intuition and do what feels good. So I love that. Permission to doodle. It's perfect.
Yes. Permission to doodle.
That was huge.
Yeah, I love that. I have the same influence in my chart, so I get it. I know. And that, I should be present in this conversation, but having the fidget spinner or the crystal in your hand makes it so you are present for the conversation. Yes. Yeah. Love that. So good. So in your journey as an entrepreneur, I'm sure that self-mastery has come up for you time and time again. And I'm curious what self-mastery means to you.
What does this mean to you question? As a 5, I'm like, don't make me answer a specific question.
Don't put me in a fucking box.
Put me in a box. So self-mastery for me. So my movement is called the SelfLove Rebel. That's where this all came from. I was tapping live in Facebook. On Facebook in a group, and it just came out of my mouth that, this movement is one of being self-love rebels. So for me, the self-mastery has been about always putting myself first.
Ooh, that's not easy to do as a service-based entrepreneur.
Absolutely not. And especially with, I was a social worker in the field of child welfare for 9 years, where the culture is literally, you work for free. That is expected of you. Yeah. Right. And you never turn off your phone. You're always available. And then when you're a mother, you also I've got to put my kids first. Isn't that what I'm supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
And when I realized that, I mean, it's that whole, like, you can't pour from an empty cup, but it's so much deeper than that. It's really like the work. I often say that at least 50% of my quote unquote work time is spent on me,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's my time. I'm walking the dog in the woods, I'm tapping, I'm meditating, I'm journaling, I'm meeting a friend for coffee, I'm maybe even I'm relaxing and I'm watching a show for 20 minutes while I eat my
Mhm.
lunch. So for me, that is self mastery. That is stepping outside of what I've been told I should be doing and what my priorities should be,
Yeah.
and tuning into me first.
Ugh, I love that so much. And it's such a paradigm shift when we think, as service-based entrepreneurs, we're supposed to just give and give and give and give and give. And I always say this when it comes to wealth, is that God didn't give you your gifts for you to starve.
Yeah,
God gave you your gifts so that you could make more money so that you could help more people.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ugh,
we can't create a movement if we think that we need to be the doormat for everybody.
exactly.
We need
Exactly.
to be that, we need to show people that this is the way forward in business and, in my opinion, in humanity, into this new earth.
Yeah, it really is the only way forward as far as I'm concerned. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you've kind of already answered this, but I'm curious if there's more layers to this as to how self-mastery and this self-love piece has helped you support you as an entrepreneur.
Well, it's everything I do as an entrepreneur now, right? So it's what I teach. It's the essence of what I bring to business strategy, to to everything that I do is, that question, how can I love myself more in this, whatever it is that I'm doing? Um, yeah. And I feel a real pull to share this message, like everything that we're talking about. So
Mhm.
I have programs that teach my sort of quote unquote nuts and bolts method, for, like, people are like, how do I put myself first? Like, how do I cultivate self love? I don't even know how to do that.
Right.
And so I teach that, and I teach that as part of business, right?
Mhm.
So, and of course, this is available to everybody, everyone. Like, I would love to live on a planet where everyone is awake and everyone's doing this work, but we need to teach the entrepreneurs because they're the ones who are going to take it and move it out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I can just see the world now where everybody's
Right?
loving themselves just a little bit
Oh,
more.
a little
That's
bit.
a question I ask myself every day. And I think it's interesting that we think, well, self-love, it's like once you land into self-love, you've got it. But even just my experience over the last 5 days has been this massive journey of loving myself through deep
Mm,
emotions and deep loneliness and trauma with Christmas being alone and all of these things.
yeah.
And it's not like all of a sudden you've got it figured out. It's a question you ask yourself every day. How can I love myself
Okay.
just a little bit more today?
Yes. And, I often, people are curious, how does this relate to, like, your bigger mission and purpose? Or how does this relate to my bigger mission and purpose? And I love the question, what do you want for the world? And so for me, I became a social worker because I want to live in a world where everyone is loved, everyone's accepted, everyone's taken care of, no child is unwanted, no child is hungry, no child is unsafe.
Yeah.
And when we live in a world where every single human being loves themselves so deeply, this is what we create.
Yeah.
There will be no children who are forgotten. There will be no people who are unloved, who are not taken care of. We will not let that happen.
Yeah.
It cannot exist. And so this is, honestly, that is at the core of all the work that I do. So as a social worker, I worked with children in care, high risk youth, and it was incredible. And we have big work to do. We have a
Mhm.
lot of systems to fix,
Yeah.
and I believe that this is the way forward.
So good. So good. So another conversation that we're really passionate about Rebel Radio is wealth. But
Yeah.
wealth is this word that has a very subjective definition. So I'm curious as to what you define wealth as.
I see wealth as so much more than money, of course,
Mhm.
right? Like, I feel so wealthy in the richness of my relationships, my connections. Um, in the nature that's all around us. I'm not sure how I would define wealth. That's tricky, Cindy. I think you've stumped me a little. I don't know. I don't know. How do you
Yeah.
define wealth?
Yeah, wealth to me is a feeling state of when I
Mhm.
wake up in the morning, and like you were saying at the beginning of this episode, when I wake up in the morning, I'm just like so grateful that I get to do this work and hang out with people that lift me up and inspire me. And all day I'm supporting and being of service and filling up my own cup. And there's money too. But the money is a side effect of the feeling state of wealth.
Boom. I love it. I mean, this whole idea like that money is the byproduct of living in alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is it.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. And I mean, I come from a background of chasing the almighty dollar,
oh,
and that sure didn't work out in my favor. So
feel ya.
we'll do it the
Of
other
course.
way. It's
I
working the
became
other
a
way,
social worker, right? Won't make
right?
more than 50K a year. Sure, give me all the debt. Thank you.
Right, exactly. And none of us are meant to live that way. It's not natural for us to live that way, trying to make ends meet. Like we can be more of service when we have the ability to give and invest consciously and move our money through the circuit and the flow of how it's meant to be operated
Oh,
and not hoarding it and hanging on to it and hoping for the best, right?
100%. Yeah.
What is one truth that you wish every entrepreneur knew?
That they are the most important part of their business.
Yes.
It's not anything that they do. It's not, getting a new system or putting out a new offer or trying harder or freshening your marketing. It is turning inward.
Yeah.
You need to love yourself. You need to do the work. You are the most important piece.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, if you don't love yourself, then
That's going to show up in everything you do.
stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah, totally.
What's one thing you've discovered about yourself on this journey of self-mastery and self-love that you'd like to share with our audience?
Oh my goodness. So many things.
I know I love to put people in the box with the one thing.
The one thing. Oh, I want to bust out of that.
You're allowed more than one. It's fine.
Okay. That I am perfect and worthy exactly as I am.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have more. That it's safe for me to share my true voice and to show up as me. And I think for so many service-based entrepreneurs, this is really, really hard because we think that we want to show up as our audience is expecting us or wants us to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then we dilute ourselves. We dilute our message. Our true people can't find us.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The idea of authenticity, right? Of just being who you are. I was having a conversation yesterday with somebody who is wanting to create an online business, but was worried that he was showing up in a state that wasn't authentic because he's a spiritual entrepreneur, but he smokes. And so this conversation, I was like, well, what if you could be an entrepreneur and still smoke? I mean, yes, you want to quit smoking, but what if you could just show up in that? Why do you need to wear a mask?
Yeah, take the motherfucking masks off, people.
Yes, please. Let's just drop that right there. Take the fucking mask off. Literally and figuratively.
Yes. And do not put masks on your children. And I'm talking literally and figuratively, but when we don't show up authentically as ourselves, we are teaching our kids that they can't either.
Right? Yeah. We're teaching our kids that they need to cover themselves up and pretend to be who they're not and hide and shove down pieces of themselves that need to be expressed. Oh, it drives me crazy.
That they are not enough exactly as they are. And how many times, to everyone listening how many times did you hear growing up, be quiet, take it down a notch, you're too much.
Children are meant to be seen and not heard.
Or maybe you are so quiet and people are always like, cat got your tongue, speak up.
Right.
We need to be who we are. And this taking off of the masks is the thing.
Yeah. What a way to kick off 2021 with a Rebel Radio episode of take off the fucking masks.
The fucking mask. Hashtag.
Oh, so good. So good. So let's bring it to that. If you could share anything with our audience about current events, COVID-19, 2020, all the things, what would you share?
What do you mean? What, like, about current events? What would I share?
Whatever you feel inspired to share. What do you feel is important for people to know right now?
Yeah, I think it's important for people to understand the difference between um, reacting and
Mhm.
recreating. And I think that we're in a really crazy reaction cyclone right now.
Yeah.
And we're not recognizing that we can't we can't react our way through life until humanity on this planet ends.
Right.
So what does the recreation look like to you? How can you come back to yourself? How can you come back to learning more about your body, learning more about nature, about Mother Earth, about cycles, about um, the poles on our planet? How can we learn more about that so that we can actually create this new Earth?
Yeah.
One that doesn't involve chasing people around to, get vaccinated for this, that, and the other thing. And I'm not saying I'm not anti-vax. Please don't think that I'm an anti-vaxxer. I
Mhm.
am a pro fucking understanding what's going on.
I'm
That's what I am.
loving the hashtags coming out of this episode. It's so good.
That's my jam on current events. That's what I am.
Yeah, I think that's so important, that reaction versus response is that the way our brains operate, we immediately go into past programming, and the computer program between the ears just kicks into place and goes, oh, well, that means that, so I need to react this way. Whereas if we can just take a step back and just take a breath, that's all it takes, is to, oh, I wonder what's actually going on here. Because everything that we're seeing outside of ourselves is a direct reflection of what's going on between the fucking ears. And so if you're not paying attention to what's going on between your ears, then everything outside of you is just going to be a shit show if you're not paying attention.
And everybody wants to think that they know everything. And this is
I
part of the problem.
don't.
What is wrong with being a learner? What is wrong with being a beginner again? What is wrong with recreating your beliefs, with choosing
Right.
to think something else? What is wrong with opening your, perspective up to other possibilities? Like, we are in this position because we think like, nope, that person knows and I don't know, so I'm just going to believe what they say because it's
Mhm.
not okay to say I don't know.
Right?
What if you give yourself permission to say I don't fucking know?
Yeah.
And then go and start like questing to know.
Find out.
Find out.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, I love this conversation. I could
So
talk to you for hours.
I agree. I agree.
So, Laura, I want to thank you for being on the show. Thank you so much for
Oh,
being here.
thank
And
you.
as always, we end Rebel Radio with one last question.
Okay.
What do you dream of for the world?
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like I've already shared that. I mean,
Mhm.
I talk about it till I'm blue in the face. Honestly, a world where everyone is loved, everyone is taken care of, everyone is wanted, everyone is safe. I
Yes.
believe we can create this world. There's no reason why we can't.
Yes, we can.
This is the world that I want to live in.
Oh, so good. So good. Thank you for being on the show, Laura.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you.